Kadosh Boker Or Mishna Yomi Masechet Batra Perek Bet Chapter 2 Mishnah Tet and Yod 9 and 10. Mishnah Tet is continuing with all the different things that you have to distance 50 amot from a city. Meaning that's what we were speaking about yesterday. You have to be marchik. Certain things kavua, minayir chanishimama. So we were talking about a goren or granaries or all these certain things, right? And now we're going to continue. So it says marchikim et nevelot, et akvarot, et bursaki. So you have to distance whether we're talking about dead animals, graves, meaning like a cemetery, right? Or a tannery, 50 amot from the nearest city. Why? Because all these things, they give bad smells. So imagine right now there's a wind. The wind comes, and all of a sudden you have that smell coming in. It's not, you understand? It's not going to be pleasant. So therefore you have to distance it 50 amot from the city. So therefore, hopefully it won't get all that, the odor to the city. An additional restriction, you only make a bursaki, which is a tannery, only to the east of the city. Okay, why? Because it has a lot of foul odor, right? And all the time. And because of that, it's not just enough 50 amot. But also he's placed in a certain place. He wants to say to the east of the city, because the eastern wind, right, that blows from the east towards the west, he says, is generally mild and warm. So it doesn't carry odors. Meaning that's why you put it to the east, because even if there is going to be an eastern wind coming, it usually won't bring that smell. If it's going to be in the west or north or south, it'll bring the smell with it. So it's going to be the east. That's the only one. Yeah? If the eastern wind comes, it's not going to bring the odor. No. Says like this, right? So one more time, the tannery has an extra concept, which means it has to be to the east of the city. So therefore, even if the eastern wind is going to blow and come this way, it's not going to bring the odor. Fine. Rabbi Akiva omer, lechol ruach hu oseh, chutz mimarava. No, says Rabbi Akiva, you know what? I'm going to be a little bit more mild. And I'm going to say, really, be'emet, you could do it on any side except for the west, right? That means you cannot do it to the west. You could do it north, south, east, but not to the west, right? Why? Because he wants to say, Rabbi Akiva holds that the 50 amount is already enough, right? And the kvar must speak, right? And he therefore permits one to do it. And he says, except for the west, right? Umarchik 50 amot, but he must distance from 50 amot in any case, right? He wants to say that the west is a different reason, because since the people in much in Eretz Yisrael, they pray facing the west, right? So that side of the city is considered kilu where the Shekhinah is. Okay? Fine. Next. Marchikim et ha-mishra, Mishnah Yod, number 10. Marchikim et ha-mishra ve'et min ha-yerek ve'et ha-krishim min ha-betzalim ve'et ha-chardal min ha-devorim. So you have to distance flax-soaking pools from the vegetables. So that's a mishra. The mishra, you used to soak the flax into a pool. You have to distance that pool from the vegetables, and the cress, that's a type of a herb, from the onions, and the mustard from the bees. Okay, now the first item in each of these pairs are going to cause the damage to the second item, and that's why you have to distance the number one from number two, not number two from number one. You have to distance the mishra from the yerek, the krishim from the betzalim, the chardal min ha-devorim. One second. Yeah. Therefore, the owner of the damaging item must distance, right, from the neighbor. Okay. Now the Mishnah does not specify, by the way, how much, right? Because the distance varies in every single case, and the owner of that item just sets a distance to prevent the damages. Okay, that's going to be halacha number 1. Okay, number 2 also, right? He comes and he says, right? Okay, well, on each one is different, right? But one second. Now he says, Rabbi Yosef matid b'chardan. Rabbi Yosef wanted to say that the last one is actually going to be permitted. Now, why? It's not that the mustard does not harm the bees, but the bees also harm the mustard. And therefore, each one could come and say, until you're going to distance your thing, right? Each one, meaning that each one, right, exactly. So therefore, I'm not required to distance my bees from your mustard if you do not distance your mustard from my bees. So because of that, obviously, we're talking about, again, and we didn't get into like which one came first, not first, that we didn't really get into, but basically Rabbi Yosef is just saying the third case has no rule, because since they damage each other, so therefore they're equal, and therefore I could come and say, no, until you distance yours, I'm going to distance mine, and therefore there's not going to be a problem. Have a wonderful day.